Hello?
This is Sonia. I'll be taking notes and storing a record of this meeting. Muting now.
Hey, Bethany.
Hey. There we are. Oh, are you dialed in?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Let me turn on my video. There you are.
Yes.
Sweet. How's your day going so far?
It is going. I had I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and we had everyone in town for the first time in like 5 years. All 6 siblings, all the spouses, all 9 babies. And we hosted them. So
Oh, wow. So are you like on that does this weekend?
They all left yesterday afternoon. So I'm in I'm in recovery / cleanup mode, but it's like my heart is so full. It's been, it's been almost 5 years since we've all been together, because my family, my brother's in the Army, so they've been stationed in Germany, and then I have family in New York and California, and so we were all together for 24 hours, but so my day's going very relaxed and low key, and
exactly
I'm also
after that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very excited to connect with you. So just, it feels good when there's that wonder what this good vibe is, and exploring that a little bit. So
Nice.
How about you? How's your day going?
It's good. I'm mastering some new routines right now. So it's there are varying degrees of progress in that. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. What's new in your routine?
I have some spiritual practices and self-care practices that I'm doing in the morning that, first it was 3 things, then 7 things, then 11. I mean, we're into hours of stuff before I actually get into talking
Mm-hmm.
during the day. So it's okay. It's so many things that I'm at the point where I need to have the checklist to get all of the things, because I can't live in my head anymore.
Yeah, I can totally relate. It's interesting, how do you have kids?
I don't.
No. So I am a first-time mom. I have a 7-month-old, and one of the things I wasn't prepared for was how I don't even get my brain to myself anymore. It's such a thing. And so really implementing new routines to make sure I maintain my individuality and my own space,
Awesome.
and not get sucked into just being a mom is something I've been going through. And continuing to adjust. But one of the biggest things in my business was I made it so I don't make appointments before noon, because, and it's my morning routine is hit or miss, but it means I always have a chance to get enough sleep. So sometimes if I need sleep more than journaling, then I do that. But it's when I am well rested, I have this routine in place. And so I can totally relate to the baby stepping and growing our routine muscles.
Yeah, it's all been about the one thing that always has gotten in my way in my business is when my energy dips, that's where I kind of back up and take the pedal off the gas. And so I'm I'm always in the up leveling of what does it look like to be experiencing myself and having even more energy while I'm doing these things, and talking to more people, and I'm an introvert, so there's just a lot that and a super sensitive person, so there's a lot that is required for me to show up at 100%.
Yeah. Well, I know one of the comments you made that I found really intriguing was when you called yourself a marketing minimalist. And I was I love that, because that's very much how I approach it too, is I'd rather show up when I can make impact rather than just like post to post or like put stuff out there to have a presence. And I'm also trying to navigate, because like, I don't know if you're familiar with human design at all, but that's.
Yeah, I've stuck my toe in the water.
It's
I don't know, and don't know enough to be very useful in supporting people.
it's something that like, well, do you know, like, I'm a projector. I don't know if you know what your type is.
I am also.
Yeah, so we're a non-energy type, and really, like, when I chose to just honor that about myself, and it's shifted every part of my life, and it's something I ended up going and getting certified in. Like, I'm level 3, probably going to complete level 4 by next year, and it's become a tool I really enjoy, because it impacts, like you said, like, if like, my husband's a generator, so he literally wakes up like a light switch and just go, 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 go. And I need the unwind time. I need ramp up time. And when I'm out of energy for the day, that's it. That's all I had. Like, I need to go recharge, and just honoring that instead of trying to be like what works for other people, just recognizing, oh, that's great that works for them. It's not going to work for me. Sure. And that's okay, because I get to find my own way of making it work. So, and applying that to marketing, and just, I think even like in the whole like copywriting thing that we're in with Kylie, like, I'm just like, this is a skill that if I develop this storytelling skill, that will allow me to make more impact with using less of my energy. So it feels like a worthwhile investment with my energy now. And I'm really excited about seeing how I start showing up more, I think, but still honoring that I'm showing up to have impact. So that's like one of my intentions for the courses, is to get faster at it. I don't know, like, what's your intentions with the course?
Great question. A couple of things. I think I'm still in I've sort of taken a turn in what I've been up to. A couple years ago, I wrote a book called Achieve More by Saying Yes to Less. And so that philosophy, like, some of what I offer is taking that philosophy and actually applying it to marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of this is certainly relevant to clients. And in terms of where I'm at in my business right now, I'm kind of in this like turn where I have a bunch of new things on the table, and I'm sort of renegotiating what the narrative around that looks like, and how are these things connected, and which things am I talking about on which channels, on which way. And so it's mostly in in terms of my own business, the figuring out like so if I move to a more than a one-page website that talks about only one thing, how do these things all connect together so it doesn't look like I'm doing 17 different things? Because I'm functionally not. They're all just different. They have different audiences because they have different levels of consciousness that they serve and support. And so it's fundamentally taking the similar work that I do and repackaging it in a way that they can actually consume it. And maybe I can do some of that together in one place, and maybe I can't. So that's kind of like the questions that I have open right now, is like, what does this look like in its next iteration that's slightly more complex than just talking about one kind of story?
Yeah. I feel like one of the tools so a separate project I have, which I'm also confident that my storytelling improving will support, is I'm building out a quiz as my lead magnet. And I'm choosing to do it as like a segmentation. So like, as people come in, I want to give a lot of value to them, but really get clear on who, like, based on their results, who they are, so that I can send them to the right places. Yeah. And it feels like, again, like you totally get this. I would imagine that it's like, I'm like, okay, I'd rather have one lead magnet that works for me day in, day out, like really get it done right, than trying to have multiple opt-ins for different audiences, because if someone not in that audience sees it and thinks that that's what I do, then they're going to think I'm not for them and not know about, because like you, like I have lots of offers and I'm happy to sell them all. And I am working, they're all the same. Like how Kylie says they're like their soul graphics, I think is what she calls them, are the same. They're just at different places in the journey.
Okay.
And so for me, I'm like, a quiz just feels fun and easy, end result wise, but like the building of it, I'm like questioning myself. I'm like, am I making this more complicated than it needs to be?
The system that you're using, if your soul graphic is the same for them, you're kind of using more of a spiral process where it's progressive depending upon where somebody's at. They can plug into the like level of development that.
Well, I guess that's what I've been creating really this year, like, because I've been a coach for 20 years and, you know, I've won awards in multiple industries because of my own evolution. Like I tell people, I didn't switch lanes. I expanded, I evolved, I increased my capacity. But I didn't, you know, I don't lose all of the other skill sets I've had. But it's just as I've improved and up-leveled, I've become capable of serving higher level clients as well. And so in some ways I feel like it's like time for me to make some decisions around, do I want to niche down more? Because I do think that that can be more powerful and targeted. But then there's a side of me that's like, but I want to help everybody. And so I know that's not a good business plan, but I'm also looking at stepping into serving, like, I'd really like my business to be like lean. I only want a handful of clients, again, protecting my energy. But I'd like them to be very high ticket clients. And so right now, like my one-on-one packages start at like 12,000 if you pay in full. And like, so somewhere between 12 and 50,000, and I'm sold out of them right now. So I'm like, I know I'm already nailing that. But
what's sold out look like for you?
It's only 3 one-on-one clients at a time. Okay. And so then I have like a group program that I run twice a year. And then I have like little do-it-yourself courses, but I'm like, I feel like I need to redo some of them because they almost like don't match me anymore. Yeah. So it's interesting. Like, I just feel like there's so much content creation on my plate right now. And I'm recognizing I don't have to do it all at once, but the whole help everybody thing is not a good use of my energy. So I have this like passion project. It's like a sister brand that I'm, again, like this is also content creation, but it's Woman Evolving. And so that's due to launch in the next 2 months. It's been almost a year of behind the scenes creating, like getting the vision down. Who is this going to help? And like, again, like the quiz that I'm creating is going to kind of segment people into, are you a woman evolving like person who's part of a movement that I'm starting? Or are you potentially like a high-end client for me? And so kind of like trying to bridge that gap because what I'm noticing is that like by me putting my gifts into starting a movement, eventually, like that's not really about me. That's like collective energy. So I don't have to be putting, like I'm not required to be the only one keeping it running, but it's also the thing that's going to get the attention of my like philanthropic influencers that I want to work with over here that have the funds and understand the personal development journey that I will support with them is going to help them have more influence and make a difference in the world. So it's like, it's all starting to come together. It feels like it's like loose ends getting taken care of. And there are loose ends that the stories, the bringing it all together piece that's got to come from me, right? Like I can't hire that out. That's not like, like I have the people in place to put it on the website or to, do those pieces. So yeah.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where I notice as a new piece of me wants to emerge, it's like, okay, let me sort this out. And then somebody could probably write in my voice at some point, but this is like where we need to start.
Yeah, for me, it's almost like it's my discovery process. It's my like it's a coaching tool I use now that I actually made up because of an experience I had with my husband when we were newly dating. And it's become a phrase that is really powerful in our relationship, where we say, like, I'm just trying on clothes, because I'd had a bad day at work. And we, like I said, we would just started dating, and we had a date planned for that night. And I was pretty confident I was needing more time to process my day and wasn't going to be, you know, the best foot forward that I wanted to put. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know, I just had a really shitty day. I don't think it's a good idea for us to hang out. Like, I'm just not feeling at my best. And he said, I don't want to just see you at your best. I want to see all sides of you. Like, if you want to change plans and do something that feels better. So anyway, I was like, well, consider yourself warned, but I guess we'll see what happens. So he came over to pick me up, and I was, you know, he asked me about my day. I was telling him about my day, and he kept interrupting me trying to fix it. And I was in and out of the bathroom like changing my shirt. Like, I couldn't get my outfit to, like, I couldn't find the right thing. And so this is also like the conversations happening from like 2 different rooms. And I finally came out and I was like, I don't even know if what's the words that are coming out of my mouth are like, sometimes I say it and I'm like, oh, that I didn't really mean that. That's not quite right. And he's like, okay, so I'm like, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you, if you could just listen, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm figuring out how I feel about my day by trying on different words, just like I'm trying on different shirts. Like, eventually I'll get the right one. So a few weeks later, this similar situation happened again. And this time through, as he asked me about my day, he interrupted me only once. And he said, I just want to clarify, are you just trying on clothes right now? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, I'll just listen. And so ever since then, it's been like, we use it in our relationship. Like, hey, I'm just trying on clothes. Is it okay if I try on clothes with you for a few minutes? I'm trying to sort this thing out. And I feel like that's what the copywriting piece of what I'm doing is. It's almost like trying on clothes for my new brand and my next level self. And so, yeah, like you said, once it's like, oh yeah, this is my outfit or this is my voice, then you can get support. But also, like, I genuinely want to get faster at it, because it's like I have it in here, I just can't quite get it out. It's so good in my head, and then it doesn't come out right. So there's a side of me that's like, if I could get faster at it, it'd probably be something I would enjoy doing most of myself. So we'll see.
And like, there's a transmission that comes through when you're delivering that in a different way than when someone else writes it. So there's some continuity from a other dimensional kind of way that is relevant, certainly.
So I'm super curious, what is it that you do? Like you mentioned you have some new things, like you're trying to figure out like your next level offerings. Cause I know like that's one of the things, like I'm playing around with like my ACE success formula, which is like my 3-step process: activate, cultivate, elevate, activate, cultivate, elevate. Like, you do it all the time in all the areas. And I'm like, I'm not like married to that name, but it feels like I'm trying to find my signature, like my unique mechanism or whatever. And I think it was you that was saying that you're like, I have my old one, but my new one's still kind of going on. So is that, are you also changing who you serve and how you serve them? Or are you just trying to talk about it in a new way? Like, what's your deal? Tell me all the things.
So I'm working with high achieving women. My niche has been about helping them recover from feeling drained and burned out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the system in Achieve More, by saying yes less, is living with SASS. And SASS is the acronym for simple, sustainable, aligned. I'm now saying them out of order. Simple, aligned, sustainable, and systemized.
Uh-huh.
And if any one of those is out of sorts for you, it breaks it down into smaller bits than that. But if any one of those is out of sorts for you, you're on the track for burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And
so it's like a diagnosing tool. I like that.
The book itself is actually designed that once you read the process in the first 3 chapters, you can actually look intuitively at the table of contents and identify which one of these aspects is going to be helpful for you. Go to that chapter, read the chapter for inspiration, and then follow the questions at the end, and you'll get your own answers about how to reset what's happening in your life relative to that principle.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have that. And then what I kept hearing from small business owners was, well, I'm feeling drained and burned out, but your stuff isn't a fit for me because I'm not making as much money as I want to make in my business. So I have to keep doing these things. And I was kind of like going, the process is designed that you could apply it to freaking anything. So I don't know how you don't see that this won't work for marketing, but then I started applying it with them to marketing, and I ran a marketing company for 15 years. So like, it's part of my area of expertise anyway. And then it turned out like, oh, I'm having a shit ton of fun. And now all of the parts of me on the table actually make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a long time I was like, I'm not sure exactly why I did this marketing thing for 15 years plus. And, because now I'm in this totally other space. I'm trained in, 8+ different holistic modalities. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of capability that I have at this point to help people transform really challenging things in a very efficient way.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I started this mastermind group that was basically applying the Achieve More by Saying Yes to Less principles to their marketing. And, like half a year or so into that, it became obvious that the next group of people that I was feeling called to serve were women who are already intuitive women, who were more like me in the sense that they see, sense, feel energy, and that's an important part. Their spiritual path is an important part of their business, and the traditional ways that people are telling them to, just go out and do just go out to do the thing, and just, it doesn't matter if you don't feel like it, like just make the calls and do the things, and you have to be on social media, and you have like all of that sort of stuff, like all of the things that they're being asked to do that are out of alignment. So they try on things, but it doesn't work for them. And they're not listening to like what's happening internally relative to their energy, sort of like the next level conversation of here's the practical and tactical stuff, and like the energetic practices that actually help this other stuff over here work. Because if you're not in alignment with what it is that you're doing, like you may as well just not even bother.
Yes. Like that's how I coach my entrepreneurs. I'm like, energy first, strategy second.
Yes.
Because if it has to, that's how it's sustainable. That's what you're going to be aligned to if you take care of your energy first. And so like, that's how I use like human design, and I use like wealth dynamics, and I have like 6 assessment tools that I use with my clients. Cause like you, I have like a lot of certifications and degrees and different things. And I was trying to use them one at a time. And I was like, the magic happens. Like that's literally, it's called my Magic Zone mentorship. And I'm like, the magic happens when I help people uncover what's going to work for them. Like that's one of my selling points is I'm like, it's great to have somebody show you what works for them, but it's better to have somebody show you what's going to work for you. And so I'm like loving that you're bringing that to the world. It sounds like, I mean, obviously you do it your way, I do it my way, but it's like the world needs more of that. Definitely.
The systems where people are like 5 steps to $100,000, like whatever that thing is. And then you put people in it and was like, okay, well, this worked for you this way, but how couldn't you just design a system that actually is designed to be customized to the person, and that they can modify even whatever it is that you're doing to in the listening of what's actually appropriate or aligned for them, not necessarily your way of doing it. Because most trainers, coaches, whatever, seem to me, it's like, well, do it this way and then make it yours. Well, okay, well, what if we were just these are the aspects of it that you need to have, and how can you make it yours right now? Based on what's going for you right now.
I am 1,000% agree with you. Like that's like any step-by-step, anything that I teach, I'm like, this is a formula. This is not a system that you have to copycat. This is a formula. This is the recipe, the ingredients to make the recipe. You're going to have, the joy recipe that's going to work for you. And so we might have to tweak like a cup more of this, half a cup less here, like an extra, and then maybe you put some spices in there that you like cinnamon. So-and-so wants like cayenne pepper. Like that's how, like it's one of my, I guess, pieces that I'm considering. So I have so much content, and I've been looking at putting them into like I have them set up as do-it-yourself courses. And I'm like, I feel like possibly something that I'm checking in if I can energetically offer this and sustain it. And like your SaaS thing is great. Like I am going through like, can I really put this out in the world this way? But my desire, what I feel called to do, is to only offer courses that actually have live access to me on some level. Because for me, I feel like that's a problem with the industry, that I don't want to be part of the problem. And I feel like I can't really call the problem out and be in integrity if I'm doing the same thing. So there's this side of me that I'm like, maybe it's like one launch a year. Like this program, I offer one, it's in February only, and you get live access to me. And of course, like you have access to all the modules and stuff like that forever. But it's something I've been playing around with and trying to look like big picture, but then bring it back to like, well, my day to day. If I have three one-on-one clients that have unlimited access to me, and I have a group program going on, how can I actually manage myself in making sure I'm delivering how I want to? But I agree with you about the customization being so important, because I think that's a missing piece. And I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you're very qualified with multiple certifications and stuff. And I know that there's I don't know, I guess this is like part of the soul searching that we do as spiritual entrepreneurs. But to me, I'm like, I don't necessarily want to have like a licensing body and have like all the red tape that comes with it. It's why I'm qualified as a therapist, but like, I don't practice. I don't keep that because I don't want the red tape. But at the same time, I think it's just the coaching industry has exploded, and there's a lot of people out there that know they figured out how to help themselves. And to me, I'm like, it's dangerous. Like you're playing with people's lives. You're not teaching them how to play an instrument where if you play a wrong note, it's an ugly sound. This is like you're impacting their brain and their life decisions in a really big way. So there's a side of me that's like, I do feel like we need a little more something in the coaching industry. I don't know what the answer is, but it's also, I'm like, if someone has a heart to help, I don't think they should not go help the people that they can help. It's just, I don't know. To me, it's like, that's like I
think we're going to land
in a worms.
My sense is that we're going to land in a spot where, because the answer is, to me, isn't more regulation about it, because there's so much differentiation about the who, the what, and whatever. Like if I look at what coaching stuff is, like I'm totally out of bounds on that with doing the energetic stuff that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's no way that I could even do that, just because of what my approach is and the impact of it. Like the stuff that I'm working on with people, it only is relative to the results that they're interested in creating. But sometimes that requires actually going and healing the energy related to a bunch of trauma that they've experienced. And the stuff that I have works. So like, and it's graceful and it's easy. And like, I'm not dealing with people who are having PTSD and stuff that like are active, like in some active relationship with, that requires medication or whatever. Like I'm dealing with high level people. So it's sort of interesting, but I think the direction that we're going, at least like what I notice in myself, is that if someone is transparent about where they're at with something, and rather than, hiding behind the scenes, like a lot of what's happening is like, let's go make, 6 figures in your business. Well, you have no idea where they're at in their business, and you have no idea like what their experience is or whatever. And so I think the discernment that's going to come out of that is if somebody's willing to be transparent and open and vulnerable about the ugly stuff, as well as the stuff that's really going well. To me, that tells me that I can just sink in there, because I know that the person is going to tell me the truth about where it is that they're at with it. And then I can discern whether what they're telling me is relevant for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think well, the market sophistication is already going up significantly because I think the boom kind of happened, and, any industry, coaching, fitness, like you look at any market, there's like a 10-year bell curve for like market sophistication where it's like, like new idea, straight up to the top, and then like it hangs out. Usually it's got like a 2 or 3 year lifespan, and then it's got a very slow death if it's a fad, if it's not actually like a long-term solution that people are looking for. And so I guess I've ridden the coaching industry roller coaster. I've seen enough fads come through, and I'm like, well, so my business stands the test of time. My practice is, like I trust myself, but now it's, it's just interesting because I wouldn't want more regulation. Like you said, like that you can't, each of us, like actually, it's what I teach is that your magic that you bring to the world is because of how you do it and who you be. Like you can't regulate that on a case-by-case basis. Like that would be a freaking nightmare.
They probably will try. I mean, I actually think that the regulation that they have here in Minnesota is actually not so bad. They require you, if you're in some kind of holistic modality, to give your clients it's a regulated bill of rights that has specific information about what your training is and what the philosophy is behind the stuff that you do, and what your payment stuff is, and so I think that that's a fair way to start. So it's full disclosure, and they can decide whether it's a fit for them or not.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I don't know that Connecticut has anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, some people read it like, "Wow, this is cool."
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, look, you're required to be honest. Right? Like maybe that amount of legislation or monitoring, I would be cool with that.
Like, I mean, like all of my paperwork's like, I am not a therapist. I am not a doctor. Like, go see these other people for these things.
Yes. And, it's interesting is I actually, one of my certifications is around, it's a therapeutic modality for PTSD. And I was just like, you know what, like
EMDR or something else.
What's that?
EMDR or something else.
No, it works with EMDR. It was this whole training course. I don't even use it in my practice because I decided that like I went through the whole training and I was like, this is really cool. And I don't want to work with people in active crisis, or like you said, like you don't work with people that are in relationship with their trauma and are in active relationship with their trauma, because I was like, I don't want to run my business where I'm on call 24/7, and I don't want to have a team that's on call 24/7, and I don't want someone to be in crisis and need help and, wake up and find out that they committed suicide, or I was like, nope, I'm just shutting that door. And so I but it does help. The training helps me recognize when people have an old trauma pattern. Mm-hmm. And again, like I refer out, like around like a lot of the trauma work. Like I have my friend Amanda Foy, she's an emotional strength trainer is what she's dubbed it, but she does like chakra clearings around old traumas. And so like I sometimes like for my private clients, like I'll be like, I got you a session with Amanda, like go here. Like, so I bring people in that's their specialty. Even certain things, like I'm really good with a lot of sales stuff, and I'm not the best in the industry. So like I have a sales expert that I bring in, and I do like guest experts with all of my programs, because I find that it actually makes me more valuable to my people that I activate my network for them. And then my network loves it, because if there's like something like Amanda getting new clients from people I send her, sometimes they go for that one session and that's all they needed. But then, 5 years later, if something else comes up and they're like, oh, Amanda's my girl, like it's like that long-term relationship building and that genuine connection that is so key. So I think that's why it's important to get or I feel like it's a top priority for me right now to get my messaging down, because I'm like, I want to be able to convey what I do in a way that gets the point across to the right people. And I think it was also you who said something about like long copy, where it's like, if I just say it in a nutshell, I sound like everybody else. And I was like, yes, me too. Like, I needed like all the words to get it across. So it's like, I'm really good in one-on-one conversations. Like if I'm having a one-on-one conversation, I'm like, oh, this is how I can help you. This is the solution I have that's the right fit for you. Here's what else I have. You can obviously take your pick, but this is where I really think you should go. And my close rate is like 95%. I don't want to do hundreds of sales calls to fill my, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like,
it's not I haven't, like, I'm so good at customizing my messaging when I'm one-on-one with somebody.
yes.
That it's sort of like, what's the common faced with my own stuff, what's the common denominator? I can look at somebody else's stuff and go,
right, you do it in 2 seconds for them.
Here's the thing, but it's like the forest and the trees thing. It's hard to do. It's hard to sort that sort of stuff out without a sounding board and some other support to shine the light in the, oh, how about look over here?
Yeah, how about look right in front of your face? It's been right here the whole time. But I think that's like, yeah, I feel like I'm so close, and it's like that, but 99% there is still not all the way there, right? Like,
yeah, I think I started, I'm actually a really good writer just naturally. And so I think if there's some things that if I can just tune them a little bit, we'll wind up with a lot more opportunities that present, just because I've tuned a few different things, and just the way that I'm approaching having the conversation is probably more helpful. What I know is that when I first started doing my business, I spent a lot of time and energy focusing on the digital marketing, because of all people, I should be able to do the digital marketing part of things. And like, it felt like a total failure that here I am, this person who ran I did business with like Nike and Adidas and like lots of big businesses, that here I am totally failing at my own business about actually getting people to buy stuff from me online. And the irony, or the gem about what happened, was that, me doing that, if I had been successful at doing that, I would have just stayed behind the scenes and like just kept doing more of that. And like, in terms of my own personal growth or whatever, like, it was way more of a stretch to go out in person and really be embodied with people and be doing that sort of thing. And had I been like making the kind of income that I was interested in making, just doing the digital stuff, like that stuff never would have happened. And now I see like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, I get what the plan was here. Like, I'm committed to doing the embodied stuff and being out there and not hiding behind the scenes, and like continuing to stretch and grow in this way. Like, and like, it's time to let this other stuff happen too. And so let's get back in while I have this commitment to showing up in this other way too. And so I feel like there's definitely the synergy there to mobilize the resources that I've already spent a lot of time and energy creating.
Exactly.
And they just haven't gotten traction in the way that they definitely can. Because everybody, like, if I go out and I talk about what the resource is, they're like, oh, I know people who need that. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah. And so now it's like, all right, let's transfer this and put it in other platforms so that, like, yeah, especially, I feel like, especially right now, while social media is honestly pretty much free, like, I know that there's like, it's getting a little bit more pay to play, but it's still, I mean, I don't think it's going to stay that way forever. Like, and really capitalizing on the opportunity that we have in this time and era of entrepreneurship, that it's like, we have access to all of these resources and tools and ways to connect with and reach people in a really inexpensive way, like just by being ourselves, and like that vulnerability piece, but also by being vulnerable in a way like we're sharing because like, I really am loving Kylie's approach of like, it's like intimacy marketing, I think is what she calls it, where it's like, you get to know them so well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing the demographics stuff for way too long. Like, that's not right. It's probably why I'm missing the mark, because I imagine your people are kind of all over the map with their demographics, but it's like, I can't find a common theme. And I've had thousands of clients, if I'm looking at their age or their income level or their, even some of the people that have invested 5 figures with me, like, it's almost one of those things where I'm like, I don't know that was the best financial decision, but I know it will change the trajectory of your life. It's like, so I'm fine receiving that money from you. But like, yeah, like one of my clients canceled cable and something else to invest in me. And I was like, good for you. Like, and like the results she got, she was like, oh my God, like this was the best thing I ever did for myself. So
I don't know. I look at like, I mean, I've invested in things when I had, where I had to put it on credit cards where it like on paper didn't look like it was the best financial sense, but I don't know. People do things that don't make the best financial sense all of the time.
Oh yeah. I don't take responsibility. I used to feel like I should take it, like, oh, like, let me make it easier for you. And I'm like, part of the transformation is choosing to do something that is uncomfortable and maybe financially hard is going to get your attention, and actually, like, I think it gets them better results, or it has the power to. So it's like, I used to take responsibility for that, but now I'm like, nope, it's not my responsibility. And yeah, it's
for me, the threshold is, have I done what I'm asking them to do?
Yeah, I know for sure I have. Like, I put everything I owned in the back of a car and left home, and 5 years later had a degree, and like, it's like all these things, like, yeah, I get it. And I also don't think that people should do it just because I did it. It's like, ultimately, I'm like, you're responsible for your decision. And I think for me, it's also my piece around money, because everybody has their own money story, right? Like, I'm constantly working on mine myself. Like, I'm like, we can always improve it. But for me, I'm like, is this like, if investing in me is going to make survival an issue for you, like you can't keep the lights on in your house, or you can't, like, if you might end up homeless, like, that I get a little hesitant to trust their decision, because I feel like that's like, again, not my responsibility, but I noticed that all of a sudden they go into crisis mode a little bit, because they're like, I have to make it happen. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't love the pressure that they seem to put on me. And because I'm like so empathic, like, I feel it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's
I had a client who hired me last year, and she was about to have her house foreclosed. And like, there was a bunch of other stuff that was impending for her. And she's like, I didn't have an answer for how I was going to handle any of these things. And it wasn't going to get better if I didn't do something different. And, she went from selling, she told me the other day, she's like, no, I really thought it was a miracle if I sold $100 thing. And she just closed a deal that was 10 grand. And for her, that was like, I mean, that's a whole different life for her and her family. Mm-hmm. So she, like, the mindset that she had 6 months ago, like, never would have gotten her to that place. And yeah, that's exciting. So yes, on one hand, and on the other hand, like, I know for myself, like, I've been in places where I didn't do the shit until I had my back up against the wall financially.
That's like me all the time. And even as it was, I feel like I was just trying on close with you a little bit, because it's something I'm actively working on with my money story. And I'm like, I don't even know if I even agree with what just came out of my mouth.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. So full disclosure, thanks for letting me try on clothes, because I'm like, that outfit wasn't exactly right. It's,
I kind of have like the truth police. I have some spiritual helpers where I'll say something, they'll be like, that's not true. What do you mean? That's not true. Okay. So, and then I kind of like backtrack in my conversation and let me rephrase that. And then I'm in the listening of, okay, what's actually true? What is actually true?
Is that really real? Is that really true? Like, yeah, I love it. Well, listen, I am just looking at the clock. I have a 2:00 call and I need to take a bathroom break and get some water before I settle in for that. But I am really looking forward to continuing to get to know you better in the group course. And like, if there's any way I can help you, if you ever want to like bounce an idea or, you know, like I'm not a copywriter, but if we're working on creating stuff, if you want to say like, and I'm sure the group is open for this, if you're like, hey guys, like what's your thoughts on this? But I'm definitely, I think taking the time to have a conversation and get to know each other a little better makes it that much easier for me to feel like, hey, I think I understand what Joy's about. Like my 2 cents might actually matter a little bit more, be more helpful. And I don't know.
What can I do to support you in the transition that you're in right now with your stuff?
I'm not really sure. Like I didn't show up today's call with like any ulterior motives or agenda or anything. It was just pure connection. But I'd love if something pops across my head where I'm like, oh, Joy might be able to help me with this. I'd love to be able to ask. Like that would feel great.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Please do. I would say the kind of wordsmithing that I do is ballparking. Like I can get somebody on the playing field and then they need to make it their own, but it's more like Kylie's like way more on point with the, you know, what's more.
Oh, so you help people get it on the green and then Kylie helps them put it in type thing?
Well, I'm like relative to marketing, I'm kind of a marketing generalist.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the work that I do. Like I know enough about a lot of different things, but I'm not an expert at any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an expert at copywriting.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that I'm pretty good, better than many.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. You know, what's interesting is because I'm actually a generalist in terms, like I have a few specialties that I know really, really deeply, like physiology, at this point, like the amount of psychology that I like, the tools that I have, like, and then energy. So like, those are the 3 kind of like foundational pillars that I let people know. I'm like, and there's all these other things I do, same as you, that I'm like, but I'm a generalist, which is why I bring in guest experts to kind of like fill the gaps in my programs that I'm like, okay, you're going to speak this language, this topic language by the time you meet the guest expert I'm bringing in. But that's as far as I can take you. So I think that's one of the, I've decided to view that as a strength instead of it was for a long time a thing where I was like, I have to be an expert at everything. And I'm like, that's never going to happen. Oh my gosh. So just deciding like, no, I get to be a generalist in these things and really choose, what I want to be good at, like what I want to be known for. So
it's fun.
I don't know. Yeah, it is fun. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And I guess I will see you Wednesday night, probably.
Yes.
All right. Awesome.
I can do to support in the meantime.
Yeah. Thank you. Same to you. Bye, Joy.